You good?
Yeah, I'll talk to you later.
Good morning. At this time, I would like to call to order the Pasco County Board of County Commissioner meeting of October 23rd, 2018. I would like at this time for everyone here, please silence all electronic devices. At this time, I'd like for you to rise for the invocation and the pledge.
Please bow your heads. O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, please call roll.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Here.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Here.
District 4, Commissioner Wells. District 5, Vice Chairman Oakley.
Can we say here, because he's here?
Here.
Oh, right there. Who's missing right there?
You saw me?
Commissioner
Wells
Wells.
is not here right now.
Wells is sick.
Oh,
Okay.
That's why I went out of order.
wow, a lot of sick people.
All right, now this is time for public comment. Citizens are given an opportunity to comment on any item coming before the board during the public comment section. The board also takes public comment on items placed on the future board agenda and other business under their purview. Public comment for public hearing items are taken during those individuals' public hearings beginning at 1:30. Individuals speaking during public comment will be given 3 minutes to speak. After stating your name and address for the clerk, the located on the podium is start a countdown. After 2 minutes, one beep will sound and the light on the timer will go from green to yellow. And during that time, it will change from yellow to red, which remains 1 minute left. After time is up, two beeps sound, and the light on the timer will change from yellow to red, indicating the 3 minutes are up, and you should close your comments. The following people have signed up, and I'd like the clerk to read those persons.
Mr. Chairman, before we
yes.
go further, I didn't get into the roll call, so I'd like to say that I'm here.
Okay.
Jack Mariano,
Okay,
District
the
5.
record will reflect that. Thank you, Commissioner Mariano.
Thank you. Okay.
So we'll start with Tax Collector Mike Fasano.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you very much for allowing me to take a few moments here. I'll do my best as quickly as possible. Two things I wanted to bring to your attention. As you know, we have the PACE program in Pasco County. All of you have been in support of it, and I appreciate that. So do those who have participated. We have some problems, though. We have, as you've probably been reading, hearing, some unscrupulous contractors out there, and the PACE providers, in my opinion, some of them have not been doing a good job making sure those contractors are good contractors and not providing the services that to the customer that they're signing up. As you know, both Gary Joyner, the property appraiser, and I have put together a document for the customer to sign, telling them all about the PACE program. And the contractor is required to get that signed, so is the PACE provider. At that point, they are then to fax it to both Gary Joyner's office and to my office. However, one PACE provider refused to go along with that, and we no longer have a contract with them. So I'm asking if the county would please consider revoking their agreement with this one PACE provider. I have it all documentation here. With your permission, I'd like to bring up and give each of you a copy.
Motion to receive the file.
Thank you.
Okay.
Call that. Call that.
Is that what we have right here?
Motion to receive the file, second.
Motion received and filed.
I made the motion. Just say all in favor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like so? All right, pass.
One goes to them.
Okay, the county.
Yep. You'll see on the, it's just pretty much a letter to all of the board, asking them to, agreement that you've made with the one PACE provider, please consider giving them their 60-day notice that they'll no longer do business in Pasco County. We've attached the resolution for that one PACE provider, and behind that, you will see what we require the customer to sign, so they are aware of exactly what PACE is all about. And that's the last few pages there. And as you can see, the contractor signs it, the PACE provider signs it, and the customer signs it. It's been working out very well. And this PACE provider didn't want to do it. We just want to make sure they don't do business in Pasco any longer. If that, they're not going to comply with protecting the consumer.
Good. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So, the question for Mr. Goldstein, the procedure.
Well, I guess I'd ask Mr. Fasano.
Yes.
Why do you need the board to do this? Because I don't think our agreement's effective unless you have an agreement with them anyway.
Well, I'd rather be safe than sorry. I'm asking, if you look at the agreement that you have with them, you will find that you can give them 60 days notice to no longer have an agreement with them. I would rather have the county revoke their agreement as well, so they cannot go back to the legislature next year and say that counties that do have it, that it is not required to have an agreement with the property appraiser and the tax collector, that would not be forced to have to collect it regardless. And I would just sooner have the county go ahead and revoke the resolution and the agreement that you have with this one PACE provider.
So, Commissioner Moore, that's not something we can do today, obviously. That would require us to bring
Certainly.
back an agenda item to have you do that. Typically, these have been handled by the Community Development Department, so we can ask the Community Development Department to bring you back an agenda item, and it's really up to the board if you want to do something like this. There are other PACE providers in Pasco, so terminating this one provider would not remove PACE from Pasco County.
Correct.
But ultimately, it's going to be up to the board in a future agenda item.
So just bring it back next meeting.
There are 4 PACE providers, well, there were 4. All 3 of them complied, in fact, worked with us in making sure that the customer, the consumer, your constituents are being taken care of and watched over. This one did not want to comply, and therefore we just said no more contract with either the property appraiser or the tax collector, and we're asking the county to revoke their ability to do business in Pasco.
So, Mr. Chairman, so Mr. Biles, just bring it to us, have staff bring it to us next meeting.
Right, yeah, we'll
Run it through the right channels.
And just put.
we'll work it through community development.
Just put it on the
and
agenda.
right channels, they'll be on the agenda for the 27th meeting.
All right, perfect.
Mr.
Thank
Chairman?
you.
Senator, thank you very much for bringing this forward. This is like the one thing that we have a problem, that if we had a problem with, is how to address it, so I think you're dead on the money with it, so
Thank you very much. And it's working. What we've required is working, and it's great. As you know, we've brought in a consumer advocate into the tax collector's office, and they are pretty much focusing on making sure that people who are going to be signing up with PACE, we contact them immediately once we get that signed agreement or understanding, I should say, from the customer, from the contractor, and that customer has 3 days to rescind that contract. So we make sure we get back with them, we explain to them how much their taxes are going to be going up. Can they afford that? Do they understand all the implications? And in fact, some of them have backed away because they did not realize the bottom line. And we have so many seniors in Pasco and people who are limited income signing up for PACE. They can barely afford their taxes now, and then we see their taxes going up by a couple of $1,000 a year. It gets worse for them, and I don't want anybody losing their home, and I know neither do you as well. So, thank you very much. Finally, as you know, the tax collector has some extra dollars at the end of the year, and I know you've all been waiting, just having fun. But we were hoping to give you $1.7 million of excess fees. You've been helpful in providing a training center with some of the dollars. We were then going to be able to give you $1.9 million. Well, I bring you a check today for $2,881,000. So we went about $1 million over than what we expected. So Here's a nice check for you, and I'll give that to the clerk.
All right, thank you.
Don't spend it all one place, but remember Premier, okay? Premier, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, thank you.
Okay, it's going to be hard for anybody to top that one, but the next speaker is Patricia Higgins, and if you could line up behind him, Bill Fuller, and then Wanda Chasoff.
Patricia Higgins, 15400 Bermondsey Street, Hudson, the dope capital of the world. Sad to say, but it's just getting worse. We call the sheriff's department. They come on our street. I can hear their air conditioning running in my house and park on the street and think they're going to catch guys. No, they're not going to catch them. Are they stupid? It's almost a shame to live in Pasco. And the old people are the ones that are taking the beat for it. We've got a guy, I'll call him Mr. Bumstupid, who for 14 years has been plaguing Carey Lane and Bermondsey Street. And no matter what he does without a permit, so far nothing's happened. He's burned down trees. He's put poles in front of people's driveways, exits. He's built a building for commercial property. Never had permit one, not a permit on it. Yet my neighbor had a tree blown over in the hurricane, and it didn't go all the way down, so she had to have it removed. She had somebody remove it, and she got fined because she didn't have a permit. Now, to me, that is ridiculous. We're older people. We're on very limited incomes. Our health isn't good. I shouldn't even be here today. The next time I come, I'll probably be crawling in. But I'm here to represent the people. And we need help. We need a lawyer or somebody that'll help us. This monster that lives on Carey Lane is affecting many places, and the drug dealers on our street. And he was a drug dealer. He was arrested for it. He turned state evidence against the big guys and got out. Now, come on. It's still in the Tampa Tribune archives. He was arrested. He was sent to state prison. He turned state evidence, and it was expunged. But it's not. And he's a monster, and you keep letting... He bought the road on Carey Lane. And not only that, they're supposed to have a 25-foot easement from the middle of the road. He took that, too. I bought a place on Edgewater Circle, and we wanted to put a fence up. We couldn't, because we had to have 15 feet from the canal, and then we had to have 15 feet, 25 feet from the middle of the road. Guess what? We had 10 feet to build on. How come I couldn't build on that, but he can do what he's doing? It's not fair. It's not right. Somebody must have a brain that can do something. Thank you.
I have a question. Does he own the property or rent the property?
No, he owns it. He's bought more and more and more, and now he's trying to join it all together so he can really put the clamp on us. He has old buses parked out there so you can see them from Little Road. That's beautification. Come on.
Ms. Higgins, if you get with code enforcement right in the back, he's raised his hand back there. If you get with him and give
I've
him
been
that,
with him so many times, I'm sick of it.
we'll follow up and make sure something happens about it.
Thank you.
Sir will. Thank you.
Next speaker is Bill Fuller, followed by Wanda Chasoff, and then Dan Callahan.
Yeah, my name is Bill Fuller, 15400 Bermondsey Street, Hudson, Florida. I'm here because the paving, we had a lot of problem with our road, and they went and did a liquid blacktop or liquid asphalt on it. Well, it lasted about 2 months. Now it's full of potholes, going right back to the same old mess it was before, not even worse. I mean, they said they were going to do it. We sent petitions out to have a blacktop done, and people on the road refused to do it. Well, actually, we pay extra money to have asphalt put down on our road when we pay taxes every year. I mean, it just doesn't seem right.
What was your road again?
Bermondsey Street, right in Hudson, between Little Road and 19. It's off of Bolton.
Okay, I'll need to get the address and go take a look at it.
Well, we've had people, I've called Mr. Adumala, whatever, a couple times, he's called back, said, well, I'll talk to you, I'll do this, I'll do that, nothing gets done. I mean, what good is putting a Band-Aid on an open wound? I mean, it's not gonna be better unless it gets asphalt and blacktop. And the people on the road can't afford it, everybody on the road cannot afford an extra $600, $700 a year on their taxes. It don't make sense. We didn't put the lime rock there to begin with, the county did. That's what started the whole problem.
Was your road one of the ones that was fixed after the hurricane?
No, ma'am, it was just done, it was done this past June, it was
Well, that
done.
doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, I did not understand your address.
15400 Bermondsey Street,
15400.
Bermondsey Street.
And how are you spelling that?
Bermondsey.
Okay. Is anyone from that department here? I can't see behind you, but I don't see any of our road people here today.
No, it probably won't show up, 'cause I
Oh,
know,
right back there. Go meet with that gentleman after you're done speaking.
I've talked to that gentleman
Right in the
before,
back,
so.
so,
And I will speak with him too.
around it.
I mean, something's gotta be done. And right now, I mean, I got pictures of the road where it's right full of potholes. And it's worse now than it was when they had the dirt on it, before they put the liquid asphalt. It just, I mean, they could come do, either fix it right, or come do an asphalt or whatever they gotta do with it, but fix the darn road right. We pay taxes every year. We should be paying enough taxes to cover the repair of that road.
No, we don't.
If it ain't enough taxes, what the heck's going on with all the taxes, money is going into the county? Like right now, he just gave you a big check for taxes. Why can't some of that go to fixing roads? I mean, he just gave you a couple $1 million. Why can't he take some, fix roads? Put it to good use. Don't line somebody's pocket. Fix something. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Wanda Chasoff, then Dan Callahan, and then Lisa Barabbas Henry.
Hi, my name's Wanda Chasnoff, and I live at 6608 Status Lane, Newport Richey. I'd like to tell y'all, I'd like to offer my thank yous to y'all. Y'all got the meth houses off my street, and it's become quiet, believe it or not. But I'm here for another reason. I have a neighbor, he's 79 years old, I believe, next door to me. I've had the game wardens out there, I've had animal control out there. He wants to feed the furrow cats. He has like 10, 15 cats. I've had animal control out there. None of them are vaccinated. None of them are tagged, nothing. They're tearing up my property. They've tore up my air conditioning. They want to use the bathroom all in front of my house. He doesn't want to get them fixed, so we're having babies, and he don't want to get rid of them. So I went to him and I said, look, let me take the babies to the animal control and have them adopted out. He says, I'll shoot you if you touch them, and I'll go to prison. Well, I went home and tried to cool off. I didn't call the cops because I looked at it that he was an elderly man. The animal controls come out there, they got an open file on him and all. But I brought my parents home with me this past week that are 85 and 77 because they were hit by the hurricane. My mama fell yesterday because of his cats. My mama's 77 years old. I don't need her hip broken and then her die. I'm trying to take care of them, and I can't because of his cats are on my house. They're using the bathroom on my car. They're vomiting on my car. They're pooping in my yard and all. I can't handle it anymore. And he's feeding the furrows, and then they're having babies. I have not enough income to have them fixed. They're not my cats. I'm not feeding them. I need some help here. I don't need my mom and my daddy to fall again and get hurt. And I had to bring them home.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can I make a suggestion? With animal control, we actually have cages that you can actually trap
Yes.
these cats.
I've tried to trap them, and
Yeah.
I can't trap them because he's feeding them. He spends $650 a month to feed them and got a roommate so he could have the extra income to feed all these cats. And none of them are vaccinated. Not the first one's vaccinated.
I see Kathy Pearson over there. Maybe Kathy can give you some.
And I'm here asking for help. I'm not here trying to be rude. I just need help.
And Kathy Pearson can probably help you with that.
Kathy will help you with that.
Thank you very much.
All right,
And
thank
thank
you.
you again for getting rid of my meth house.
Mike,
Pleasure.
They all moved down to
Mike is doing a great job for us.
Next speaker is Dan Callahan, then Lisa Barabbas Henry, then Mitchell Kopernick.
Dan Callahan, 7108 Daggett Terrace, Newport Richey. Before giving you a hard time, I want to thank you for the display that you have in the lobby for the military. Since I last spoke to you, you've decided to set up a beautiful website touting the Ridge Road extension. Perhaps you should have entitled it Fantasy Pasco Land, because it will celebrate the road to nowhere, which is going nowhere. You've also decided that since $19 million hasn't gotten you the permit from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, nor has the support of Trump, who is way too busy building his non-existent wall, and ally Congressman Belarakis is facing his biggest challenge to remaining in office, so why not throw an additional $2.5 million like pixie dust at the permit that's eluded you since 1998? Think of all the money you're saving by not paying Dawson and Associates $33,000 a month to pimp for you in D.C., and instead you're just giving them a measly $400 an hour for anything they do to make your fantasy come true. I'd like to read to you some quotations from the Pasco Times way back in May of 2004, in case you're running out of lines to convince your remaining cheerleaders that the Ridge Road extension will ever be a real road. On May 14th, 2004, the headline read, "County Army Corps Cross Swords Over Ridge Road." The quotation is, quote, "Pasco County is no closer to getting the last key permit for the Ridge Road extension than it was 6 months ago, and officials are getting tired of the delay." That was almost 15 years ago. Different officials, no longer serving, but how upset they were with the lack of progress. Remember when Peter Altman sat where you're sitting now? He said, quote, "If we've got to draw it with a crayon, we've got to get some kind of drawing to get through to the Army Corps of Engineers, explaining the importance of the $25 million limited access highway," unquote. Have you tried the crayon approach lately? They cost about a nickel. But don't forget, the cost is now $90 million for this limited access road, limited access in this case, translating to only a handful of Pasco citizens who will ever drive on this highway unless they buy into one of the developments the highway will inspire. Remember Commissioner Steve Simon? He had a great idea. Quote, "We have to grab a senator or a congressman, someone at the federal level who can talk to the Army Corps of Engineers and make them feel the necessity of the Ridge Road extension," unquote. Oh, that's right, you've grabbed the Trumpster and Gus most recently, and they've really made a big difference, haven't they? Well, that's true, they haven't. And that troublesome November election is just weeks away when you may have to grab a President Pence or a Chris Hunter. Good luck with that.
Thank you. Next speaker is Lisa Barabbas Henry, followed by Mitchell Kopernick, and then Diane Kopernick.
Good morning, my name is Lisa Barbas Henry. I live at 8835 Denton Avenue. I've been there for 3 decades. That's a lot of years. First, I want to thank you for this time, the opportunity to speak to you today on behalf of Holy Ground Shelter. It's a homeless shelter. You should know me, or at least know Holy Ground. The shelter has been there serving the homeless for 3 decades. Mind you, it has been the only shelter since the beginning of time. It is also the largest shelter in your county. It's the only shelter that houses men, women, children, and families 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We are never closed. There is not a day that doesn't go by that the sheriff's office, a church, a hospital, or even a Good Samaritan from our community does not stop by and drop people off. Every single day, there's probably 15, 20 people a day coming in. There are not people. I am the only shelter that does not require an ID, a background check, drug test, not done immediately. Most of these people don't have IDs. They've lost them along the way. we can get them after they get settled in. Most of these people do not need background checks, some do, but to check and make sure. But I work with the probation and parole. When give them their name, they can tell if they're a sex offender. Never in the 30 years has anyone or the police department can tell you, never have they ever had to come there due to a circumstance or a problem beyond my own control. God is good. I'm the only shelter that doesn't agree. That is something that we work on as we stay there and get our lives together. I live on the property as well. I am here today to tell you that there's about to be a catastrophic event that's going to take place in Pasco County, right here, and you will all feel the effects of this. We at Holy Ground Homeless Shelter are asked to leave the property. We have been sheltering the homeless for over 3 decades. We have a 30-day notice to move. That's been our second one. I'm trying to move. I'm trying to pack. I'm putting food in buckets. I'm personally trying to go through 27 years of my life that I gave at no cost to you. I've never asked this community for one dime. I've never asked you for, I wanted to be a liability. I wanted to be an asset, not a liability to you. And I'm asking today that you reach out and do whatever you can. I know you're going to send me to other people. I already have them, and the sheriff's offices try to get their legal team involved to help out because they know what's going to happen to them. I've had Mr. Marano helping me. I owe him an apology because I didn't know he was working so hard at getting things done for us. And I didn't know that I've spoken with the coalition for help too. We did find a property that we could move to, and Mr. Moreno could tell you that we need an access road that comes from the property over, but we could afford that piece of property. The lady that's selling it has for sale. No one wants it because they don't want to buy out a homeless shelter. But she said the only way that she would allow me to stay is if I buy both parcels, which is the one I sit on, the one across the street. Well, that's been vacant for long before I was there. And I don't understand why I have to be the one to do that. I'm sure my list is longer, but I can let you have questions. I mean, most of you know me. I'd like to say hello to Miss O'Neill. I mean, we go back a lot of years, too.
Seen you in a long time.
I know, I keep quiet, just keep doing my
Thank you for your
thing.
comments. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could,
Yes.
this is like a very, very serious issue.
Mariano.
And I want to say she's done a great job for years, and you're very well respected. The Campbells think you do a great job. As a low-barrier shelter, what she does is definitely a vital part. I want to try to help her every step of the way in the community. I've reached out to the property owner, but I think it might be good if we did a letter from the Board of County Commissioners giving a letter of support, at least get her an extension till, I said January 31st.
Please.
Give her some time, and maybe we can find some ways to try to help her every step of the way.
Yeah, it's hard to move people who are in hospital beds and have no family. And you say it's easy, just move them in. Do you think you can just move them into the assisted living? That's not the way it works. It doesn't work that way. And one of those hospice patients is my sister. And I can't put her on.
So,
And
Mr.
then the
Chairman.
children. And what about the school buses that we have to get stopped? Because you have that policy that no child left behind. So they pick them up from the shelter and take them all the way to their schools. It's not just a 30-day get out. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. These are lives that we're supposed to be taking care of and helping. They don't have all drugs and problems.
So we'll get the letter drafted and we can sign it after the,
And I want to say,
Right.
Kathy Pearson actually gave me a call this morning and told me about the property, so I did go to see the property itself. I think the property is viable. There's not a lot back there. I think it's going to be critical to getting a little bit of access out to Little Road, which is not that far. It's almost to the end of it. So it could possibly work, but I will tell you, Kathy Pearson's dedicated. She will work with you. She'll try to help you, and we'll search for ideas to try to help you. But I appreciate the board writing that letter. Thank you.
All right.
Yes,
Thank you.
can you write that letter for me? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Mitchell Kobernick, followed by Diane Kobernick, and then the last one is Alan Rose.
Okay, Mitchell Kobernick, 5001 South Shore. The counties just passed their 2019 budget, and there was no increase in the ad valorem tax rates. But before we applaud this, we need to note that there was a huge increase in the amount of funding to be received under the non-ad valorem taxes. These non-ad valorem taxes are at the bottom of your tax bill and include charges for streetlights, stormwater, and others. While there are statutory protections on how much the ad valorem taxes can be increased and have homestead protections, there are no such protections on the ad valorem taxes, and they can be raised at will. Included in non-ad valorem taxes are MSBUs, which are taxes on specific sets of property owners. MSBUs tax these specific property owners at the same rate, so a home worth $50,000 is taxed at the same rate as one worth $500,000. This is a regressive tax, since the impact on low-income citizens, those that can afford it the least, is much greater. So rather than increase the millage on the county tax rate as a whole, the county uses MSBUs to target areas for this unequal and unfair taxation, and without the protections afforded homesteaded taxes. One current example of such an MSBU deals with the Gulf Harbors Golf Course. 2 years ago, the county conducted a vote for the community to decide whether they wanted to be taxed to help pay for the county to buy the golf course. After the vote was counted, the county claimed it passed, but a detailed audit by some of the homeowners determined that it did not pass. Rather than try to reconcile this difference, a majority of this board, a majority, not all, passed the MSBU anyway. That resulted in a lawsuit being filed to contest the validity of the MSBU. 2 years later, that lawsuit is still very much alive. During that time, I personally have asked several times for this board to resolve the situation by simply conducting a new vote and let the people have their say. Instead, the county chose to aggressively fight the lawsuit at taxpayer expense. 2 years and counting. I hope we finally reach the point where the county is at last going to respect the wishes of the community and repeal that MSBU. If this board wants to repeal this MSBU and pass a new MSBU with a new vote of the community, I would support that. If, however, this board's intentions are to repeal the MSBU only to pass a new MSBU without such a vote, circumventing and ignoring the wishes of those that will be forced to pay the taxes for it, well, I can promise that not only will that be met with a new lawsuit, but a movement underway to get Tallahassee to put greater controls on this kind of abuse of MSBUs will get their poster child.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
A transcript of this will be posted on Gulf Harbors United. You can reread it at your leisure. Thank you.
Good morning again. My name is Diane Kobernick. I live at 5001 South Shore, Newport Richey, and I'm a member of Gulf Harbors United. Commissioners, you have placed 4 referendums on this year's ballots for a total of $241.5 million to be paid over 30 years. You're asking us to vote in favor of more than $70 million for fire and rescue facilities. This is in addition to what we already pay on our taxes. May I remind you that in 2004, Pasco voters approved penny for Pasco tax sales increase, of which $2.9 million of this money was to build 2 new fire stations on State Road 52. Commissioners, you chose to shelve that project. Now you want us to vote in favor for more money. Should we believe you now that you will actually build the facilities? You're asking $20 million for parks and recreation because you say, and I quote, are in critical need, yet you continue to purchase land for more parks. Commissioners, you have voted for a portion for Penny for Pasco to buy land under ELANT program, and by your own admission, you can't even keep up what you already have. Why should voters vote in favor of giving you more money? A basic principle of business is that you don't incur long-term debt to pay for short-term operating expenses. You budget for them. You're asking more money, $18 million for libraries, and again, by your own admission, is in critical need. Why have you all even allowed this to happen? You are asking for $132 million for jail facilities. That's a lot of money. Can we be sure you're going to not shelve that project and actually going to build it? Voters should be informed of county's spending. By county's own representative, Pasco County does not have policies and procedures to spend taxpayers' monies, at least in the land purchasing department. There are no checks and balances on how you spend our money. You are spending millions on buying land to create new preserves and parks, and you don't have money to maintain them. You're buying land at premium prices without doing proper due diligence. Discover they're contaminated, and guess who's paying for it? You have no problem spending over, apparently, $19 million on a road to nowhere. You have no problem paying Washington lobbyists. You have no problem forgiving impact fees for developers that would actually help pay. Reading the Pasco County budget is quite an eye-opener. There's enough money in the budget if the county were better steward of taxpayer money. So I'm asking you to stop wasting taxpayer money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Alan Rose. If anyone else wants to speak, if you could line up now, thank you. Good morning.
For the record, move to receive and file.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Pass.
Good morning. My name is Alan Rose, 10221 Hilltop Drive, Newport Richey, Florida. I've come to you today to bring a little more information once again. This is a suggestion for a maritime master plan creating a marine sanctuary for coastal Pasco County. Using the John Chaffee Coastal Barrier Resource System to protect Pasco County residences, the Harbor's West Market redevelopment in progress, and protecting our coastal habitat, mangroves, seagrasses, fish, wildlife, and other natural resources so prominent along our coastline. Currently, there is a gap in the coastal barrier resource system between Anklote Island and Crystal River, leaving our Pasco County coastline vulnerable to the ravages of Mother Nature, mainly tropical storms and hurricanes, coastal erosion, flooding, destruction of homesteads and businesses throughout our county. To start, we have to have an offshore area designated as a dredge material disposal site. This site will be located 1.2 miles offshore from Port Richey Channel north to Leisure Beach Channel. This spoil site will then become a newly created coastal barrier island protecting Pasco County. We will need to bring this proposal, see attached dredge plan, to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and Department of Interior to ensure we are complying with the respected regulations they oversee, and ask them to amend our current unit, the numbers are there, to this coastal barrier resource system and add our county to the list of counties on the coastal barrier resource system. This new unit will consist of over 3,000 acres of protected seagrasses, enhancing our scallops redevelopment area, 100 acres of mangroves, 100 acres of newly developed beaches for sea turtle and bird nesting areas. This proposal will add storm surge protection to our coastline, address our repetitive coastal flooding we experience every year, and there are many partnerships opportunities to take advantage of. We will need to ask the United States Fish and Wildlife Service for recommendations and of partnerships and stakeholders they would recommend to seek our develop, promote species site-specific resource plan, i.e. the Audubon Society, Nature Conservancy, Florida Fish and Wildlife, FEMA, U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Anyway, this is the plan. I've been working at this for years with you guys, just bringing it to you because I know nothing happens above. I recently had a meeting with the Parks Department. Now this is transferring over to the Engineers Department. Parks Department, after that meeting with Mr. Keith Wiley and Curtis Franklin, I discovered they were unaware of this available funding. We have had millions and millions of dollars available to fund such a project to protect our coastline. You have, under your purview, you have 60 square miles of marine domain, and you really don't do anything to protect us, our coastline. And you have, because of your jurisdiction, you can have access to do things. On this one, I've asked you to designate such an area, and that's under your purview. And if you do that, then you can start with the dredging project, and done properly, it will advantage our whole county. Thank you very
for your
much.
comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak? I see no one lined up. If not, that ends public comment at this time. We go to consent agenda. On consent, I have the following items pulled: C4, pull and revise; C8, pull and revise; C40, pull and revise. Commissioners, are there any other items you want to pull at this time?
Seeing none, motion to approve the remaining consent items.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve all other items on consent. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, like signs, no? All right, motion passes. All right, C4. Mr. Tharp.
Good morning. I feel like I haven't
Good
seen
morning.
any of you in a while. C4 was revised. The ProChamp's sole source letter was not attached to the item. The contract was uploaded instead of the letter.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
C8. Mr. Bowers.
Good morning, Tim Bowers, Real Property and Planning Division, Facilities Management Department. C8 is being pulled and revised due to a Scrivener's error. The last sentence of the last paragraph on the first page was inadvertently omitted. It has been revised and submitted.
Pull as revised.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, while Mr. Bowers
Okay.
is right here. Tim, I just want to thank you for your work. That Deerfield Lake sign thing on State Road 52 from a long time ago, he was very diligent working every step of the way for the citizens, and I can assure the county made the right decision doing what we had to do, but only with his diligence did it actually get resolved to where they can actually see that the right thing happened. So I just want to thank you for your great work.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mike Carballa, Public Infrastructure. Item C40, the signature page originally read First Amendment, when in fact it should have read Second Amendment.
Move for approval as revised.
All right.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the consent agenda. At this time, we'll move forward to the regular agenda. R1.
Good morning, Commissioners, and happy Tuesday, everyone. It's my pleasure to present to you the fourth quarterly report for the Pasco EDC as it relates to our activities for the memorandum of understanding that we have with you, as well as the Penny for Pasco activities. Before I start that, though, I did want to just make mention of, there was a couple of comments in public comment about the website that was associated with the Ridge Road extension. That was a Pasco EDC website that our private stakeholders actually paid for that. There is no government funding that was involved with that, and it was at the request of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers that we needed more comments from our business community. So I just wanted to clarify that for those that were still in the room today.
Okay.
And I'll start out with the Memorandum of Understanding report for fourth quarter. I just want to show that picture on there because there's some of the staff that may be in the room here. We had the opportunity this last quarter to host 3 lunch and learns for virtually every department of the county that select staff were able to come over and actually understand what we do so that we could work better in tandem and alignment as it relates to delivering our services. So for fiscal year, this last 17-18, the sales funnel, we had 7 successes, 7 project wins this year. We ended the year with 33 projects still in the hopper, which means those are still live. Those are projects that are ongoing. We'll continue to work those, and hopefully those will be in the win column this year. That gives you a pie chart of the types of industries and categories that are coming in, a lot on the business services and a lot with hospitality-related logistics and distribution. That seven projects represented 559 jobs and capital investment of almost $100 million, $95 million. We continue to work with our existing industry. This last quarter, we had 89 visits to existing industry and companies here, including referrals to our workforce programs like AmSkills and PHSC. And in the fourth quarter, 16 events that we attended, everything from groundbreakings to the local chamber meetings, but a lot on the lunch and learns and receptions for delegates to educate them about our activities. 4 business development conferences and market missions. Now, these are missions that we actually go out to talk about Pasco County and our business community, and that's just this last quarter. And 8 presentations to local business groups and influencers about Pasco County and business climate in Pasco County. Social media continues to grow. Sometimes we're educating not just people outside our region. A lot of the people that we recruit don't really use social media to try to determine whether or not this is a community they want to come to. But the multipliers and the influencers that we talk to use that, including people like yourself. So we're up to 7,100 total followers right now in our social media. Our newsletter referrals that go out from the website have increased over 43%. Our goal was 10% for this last year. And I'm going through some of these fairly quickly in the interest of time. Our investment, private sector investment, we're at 80 investors right now. This last year we raised $404,000. We had a goal of $407,000. That's a stretch goal, and we did pretty darn good at accomplishing that. 28 board members, 4 ex officio, and 10 new investors. And that's a sign that people actually get what we're doing. They're willing to become members, invest in the organization, and put their private sector money into improving the economy here in Pasco County, and they're listed there.
Panasonic came on board.
Pardon me?
Panasonic?
Panasonic City Now is the organization that is going to be coordinating the smart city activities out at Connected City at the Crystal Lagoon. Yeah, that one does get people's attention because we don't really see a big Panasonic location here, and they are working behind the scenes to coordinate that smart city. Future. So 2017, 2018, we finished our task forces. As you know, per our bylaws, we have to have at least 2 task forces every year where we focus on some type of either an obstacle or an impediment to doing business, a competitiveness issue. This last year, we focused on our Ready Sites program as far as being able to determine how do we identify pieces of property that we use for that Ready Sites program, and we created an intake process so that when new pieces of property come available, we have a process in place to determine how to vet them and how to intake them into that Ready Sites program. The other was the Talent Pipeline Task Force, and that one was focused on workforce development and the alignment between business and employees and all of the different workforce development agencies that are out there, that some are working in silos. So this particular program, you all voted to have us actually create a new program called the Pasco Pipeline, which was kicking off this year, and you'll start to see that in our reports going forward during the next fiscal year. But that was a great success. You might also remember those task forces led to the creation of things like Smart Start and the International Committee, and also the Ready Sites program all came out of task forces in the past. So they were very effective in actually meeting the needs for our business community and removing obstacles. This year for 2018, 2019, we also have a changing of the guard at October 1. Our new chair is Danielle Ruiz, and she is with Duke Energy. Our vice chair is Mike Lawson from Metro Development. Our secretary treasurer is Jeff Lamposo from BB&T, and our past chair is Jimmy Adcock from TECO. Task forces for this year coming up, just to give you a glimpse of what's to come, is one that's focused on working to determine whether or not an industrial development authority, the creation of which would make sense for Pasco County, and the steps that would be involved to do that, as well as a food hub, food entrepreneurship program for the task force. Lastly, I'll say that our Policy Council is continuing to review their priorities for the legislative agenda for this upcoming year. With the late start of the legislative session, we do have a little more time. After that agenda is posted, our staff as well as our board will meet with each of those members of the legislative delegation prior to session starting. And we are, believe it or not, at the end, we're finishing up the second year of our 3-year strategic plan called the WIN strategy. That means next year, we'll already have to start working on a new strategic plan. So during the course of this next year, probably springtime, you all will be asked to participate in some of those stakeholder sessions and planning as we get ready to look at the next 3 years for our strategic plan. So I will stop there before I go into the penny for Pasco. If there are any comments on the memorandum of understanding deliverables? Okay.
Okay.
I'll proceed on to the penny for Pasco. And in the interest of time, I've always included a summary of those big items in the penny for Pasco because there's a lot of different deliverables on here, and when we go through each and every one of them, it's long. So from a high level, the Ready Sites program, we created that formal process for intake that I mentioned. We had 2 new sites that were submitted for assessment in the 4th quarter. We now have 1,269 acres of land that has been evaluated for industrial and commercial development. And we've continued to do our enhanced marketing for those particular sites when we go out to trade shows and places like that around the world. Our international program, we are kicking off the Chile export trade mission. Again, this is the missions that we do in concert or in coordination or cooperation with Hillsborough and Pinellas counties. We have 4 companies that we recruited, 2 that are going to be participating leaving this week to Santiago, Chile. And our international marketing collateral this last quarter, we updated new versions in Japanese and German. Incidentally, I just got back from Japan, so if I'm if jet lag is showing, that's why. But we attended the SEUS conference in Japan, the Southeast U.S. conference as part of the Florida delegation. And while we were there, we went ahead and paid for a lead generator to generate some meetings with prospective investors. We met with 10 companies, and of those 10, 8 were really good appointments. So successful trip and well worth it. Our enhanced marketing for the 4th quarter, all of our print ads are placed for the year. We've got 3 market reports that were created and distributed by direct email. And the only thing that we had left on our scorecard for this last year that we're working on right now are the videos that we'll be turning out, and they are in production. Lastly, the Smart Start summary. We've got new marketing efforts, digital, print, and premier signage about the program. One of the things that we learned in our experience with Smart Start is that the people that we deal with for business recruitment and business expansions aren't the same people that we're dealing with at Smart Start, and we had to find some new ways to get in front of some of those startups and small, non-primary, non-target industries. You might remember that that program serves everyone from retail to innovators that are looking to take their innovation into entrepreneurship. So it's not your typical audience, and there's thousands of them. So we've revised that marketing that's being kicked off in October. We established an advisory committee for our West Pasco Entrepreneur Center, and our offsite membership continues to be at an all-time high in Dade City. We have 8 members there, and that's really just a sign of the times. You see a lot of people now that work from Starbucks and places like that. They don't necessarily need to be in that office space anymore. Much more mobile society. And lastly, we've created an educational series that are going to take place in both centers this next year, starting in October. And every month, you'll see a program being delivered at both centers so that the whole county can participate in them. And of course, I mentioned the pipeline program. You'll start to see that in the next reporting. The rest of the reporting goes through the actual individual items. I know that you had a lengthy discussion this morning, so I want to stop and pause because you've all had a chance to review this in your packets to see if there's any questions.
Any questions? Good.
You have an event tonight. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that, with the Penny for Pasco, last meeting, or 2 meetings ago, we had an amended agreement where we included the new pipeline program, and we also tweaked some of the programs that we learned from experience, how to get more participation, one of which was our CEO Roundtable program. So our CEO Roundtables, we've had 2 roundtables for quite a while. We're looking at creating 7 or 8 of those programs. In order to do that, we had to practice what we preach and find a way to scale these programs up. And to do that, we found a suitable intake way to bring in more CEOs was to have more forums and activities so that they could actually experience what we teach in those sessions. So tonight will be the first of those CEO forums, and it will be held from 4 to 6 at Big Storm Brewing. And of course, Big Storm is one of the participants in our CEO Roundtable. It's been highly successful, and we're all quite proud of him. So thanks for the opportunity to plug that.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Well, I would like to thank you and your whole team for all the work you do for us in this county. And I know in my area, I look forward to hopefully one big business coming in there to build and be a new company in that area in East Pasco County, because it'll make a world of difference to East Pasco if that 300 jobs comes there. So I look forward to
And I
hearing
think we've
them
got
say,
media in the
okay,
room,
they're
so I know
coming.
he's going to
So-
grab me after you said that. So. Well, thank you all for continuing to support everything that we do as well, too.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Bill, I think you're doing a phenomenal job. One of the things that you helped come from an idea to get it off the ground was the land over by Wesley Chapel, that 99 acres or so. Any progress with that is from
Well,
what you can see at this
now,
point?
I think there's several of you now that have been touching on this as well, including a lot of the county staff. And you're talking about the site that was formerly known as the former Sprayfield site, not necessarily a great marketing term, so I think we're calling it, is it the I-75? No. Overpass Park.
Overpass Business Park.
It's changed a couple of times, but
Overpass Business Park.
one of the things that we've seen is the need to make sure that there is road infrastructure there. And we've got some chicken and the egg there, and I know you've all had some dialogue about that as well too, and to make sure that we're not competing with our local business. So things continue to progress, and I know that the county staff has also approached the state government about a grant to help with that road infrastructure. That's going to help quite a bit, but the whole road really needs to be improved, and I hope maybe this site can be used as an excuse to do that so that we can get a twofer.
Very good, thank you.
I think we have quite a bit going on there with overpass intersection and all happening. Lots going to be happening right in that area. That road definitely needs to be improved, so.
Well, our economic professional reiterated what I've stated for a long time, that entire road needs to be improved before anything happens.
Yeah.
Without that happening, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that'd be good.
It's not gonna work.
All right. Any other questions?
Put the chicken before the egg,
Discussion?
cart
All right.
before the horse.
All right, thank you all again.
R2?
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mike Carvalho, Public Infrastructure. Just a brief update on where we are with the FGUA acquisition analysis. We have a number of parallel activities that are proceeding in rapid succession. To date, we have completed a technical evaluation of the Lindrick and the Aqua systems. We have completed our first round of various rate and scenario analyses with our financial consultants, looking at the whole of the FGUA systems and how individual systems play into that. We've completed our SRF application for the Aqua system, as well as held a series of meetings at the request of certain communities just to have basic discussions on where we are with things. Future activities, we continue to review and seek definitive answers on debt structures, call provisions, as well as the timing of certain retirement of debts, and because all of these can affect the analysis. So in the absence of those answers, we're making some simplifying assumptions, but also looking at the breadth of that. We are also scheduling some meetings with our bond counsel as well as FGOA bond counsel as we get closer to understanding the nuances of what it is we're working to acquire, as well as working with our legal team as well as Office of Management and Budget to answer some questions regarding assessments, among other matters. We're holding another workshop with our financial consultant on Thursday where we'll refine our analyses and financial looks and be ready to wrap up that preliminary analysis in mid-November and to have a list of potential scenarios for board consideration during the first part of December.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mike, I know there's a lot to do, all these things. I will say thanks for getting the paperwork into the state for the state revolving fund that's going to save those people at $845,000 a year for interest. I think it makes the product a lot more viable, plus the stormwater potential, which is the reason the project qualifies. I've been waiting for the state. I know Representative Mario's been working on trying to get an answer from them. Haven't got it as of this morning, so hopefully by Thursday they can give you some information as far as where they exactly stand as well, and hopefully you can keep that thing moving forward.
Yes, they've been very responsive to our request, and again, as we look at the loan and we look at the debt structure, there may need to be some things that we need to consider with our agreement with the state as we move forward, but I'll have more answers for those in the coming weeks.
Thank you.
It's been a slow but steady progress, and I feel that there's light at the end of the tunnel, so thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Mike. No action for this item, so we move on to R3.
Chairman, you have a time certain resolution, RS2. Was on 11 o'clock for the libraries.
Where is it? RS2, you have it? I didn't have anything here.
So we do have a time certain resolution. Is there anyone here from the Friends of the Library? If you could come forward.
Might be a couple.
We're all friends of the library.
Chairman.
Yes.
While this gets started, we did a ribbon cutting yesterday at Hudson for the additional hours, and there is one next week at Hugh Embry, I believe, is the other.
Ribbon cutting
for the additional hours for Monday. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So just.
Oh, and Monday they have it at
I'll
Hugh
read it.
Embry.
Monday we're
And
doing Hugh
Dade City.
Embry. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Resolution number 1920. Whereas the Friends of the Pasco County Library System Incorporated is a not-for-profit organization of citizens who share a passionate commitment to a strong public library system. They are focused on building a strong relationship between the Pasco County Libraries and the community through volunteering, fundraising, and advocacy. The Friends work to expand and strengthen the library collection while their support assists the library in moving forward with resources in support of adult, teen, and children's programming, as well as special events throughout the year. And whereas a continuous support of the Friends emphasizes the fact that our library system remains a cornerstone for the communities it serves, while providing opportunities for all to engage in the joy of lifelong learning and to connect with the thoughts and ideas of others from ages past to present. And whereas the Friends are dedicated volunteers who donate their time for the benefit of the libraries and residents throughout the county, the Friends understand that well-funded libraries ensure that our library system receives the resources it needs to succeed and grow with the demand of an evolving population. And whereas Roz Fenton, President of the Friends of Pasco County Library Incorporated, is a vital member of our community and offers her time and expertise to the library system by hosting focus groups for our strategic plan, speaking to community groups about library services, and advocating for the library whenever she has the chance. Ms. Fenton, along with all the Friends of the Pasco County Libraries, is a strong advocate and understands the essential role the library system plays in our community. Ms. Fenton is a great asset to both the library system and to the Friends, and both her commitment and dedication are inspiring. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby proclaims October 21st through the 27th, 2018 as Friends of Libraries Week in Pasco County, and urges everyone to consider joining the Friends of the Library, done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting, this 23rd day of October 2018, signed by the board.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the board tremendously for recognizing the Friends of the Library. They do an absolutely wonderful job, and you should be extremely proud of the programs and services that the Pasco County Library has to offer. We've advanced in our cultural offerings. Our website has wonderful programs for the business community. We spent some time talking about businesses in Pasco County. We have a robotics team. I have flyers here I'd like to give to the board. May I pass them?
Got a motion?
Yeah, motion to receive and file.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And behind me are just a few of the friends that participate in programs, raise funds for special opportunities. We're building a recording studio in the Hudson branch, which is really, really exciting. We're working with the school system to collaborate with the students to help enrich their experiences. We've worked with the Florida Orchestra, who had programs at the library over the summer, and the concert you see is going to be held with award-winning musicians at the Hudson branch, and I invite you all to attend. It's free. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we come down and take a picture, I'd like to tell you, it's amazing to me all that goes on in libraries anymore. I mean,
thank you.
And then it amazes me when I run across a citizen in our county that thinks nothing goes on in the library.
Ah, yes.
I have the news for them because they're busting at the seams and needed more hours, and we've expanded that.
Thank you.
So it's all great, and what you're doing is really wonderful for our citizens in our county. I certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
All that you do, all that your volunteers do.
Thank
very
you
much.
so much. And I have to also hand it to the administration of the library systems because they do a wonderful job as well.
Do, yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
While I have them here, I know some of our staff attended a field trip last week, and I don't know if any of the Friends of the Libraries went, but could you just report on your field trip to Hillsborough County, to the Carrollwood Cultural Center?
I wasn't in attendance.
Nope, but she was. And I don't want her to leave without talking about it.
Yeah, we took a visit with the school board to the Carrollwood Cultural Center, which has several maker spaces in it, which you guys know we have maker spaces in our libraries. They have a giant, well, good-sized community theater there. And they are engaged with the local homeowners association that's local. It was a great visit. We found out about where they get their funding from and other things. So it was quite inspiring for us. The school board, as you know, and the county has partnered to build the Starkey Ranch Library, which has a theater in it and some maker spaces, hopefully. And so it was a good visit, and thank you for letting us talk about it.
Thank you, and I'm going to be talking about that more in Commissioner's items, but while you were here, and we may do that this afternoon, so I wanted to, I just heard it was a wonderful visit and that it was an inspiring visit, so thank you for taking the time to go take a look at it.
And we'd like to thank all of you for the support of the library and expanding our hours again this year.
Mr. Chairman? Yes. I want to tell you, it was such a great day yesterday at the ribbon cutting, expanding those hours, because for many years, we've taken my children there. We'd go there pretty much every time it was open. Later on, it got tougher, and you never know if it's open or not. So looking at those hours, I just couldn't wait to post a picture of those full hours, which is phenomenal. And I want to really thank the Friends of the Library, because across this county, they are dedicated to libraries. They really believe in this passion, and I think it's just so important for our seniors, our children, our families, our job seekers. the vital role they play and the passion that you've shown. And I want to go back to way back when we had the big economy drop, and we're out at East Pasco campus of PHSC. And I remember the couple of library people there looking about the cuts that were going to go on. They looked us in the eye and they said, look, they're closing up the holiday library. They're putting, all the books are being stacked away. The shelves are going to the side. Is that thing really going to get shut down? Are we wasting our time? Or is this really something we can actually turn around and go? And I says, one of my thoughts was to encourage them to go out and, speak to the community and tell them, to keep going because it's never over till it's over. And they went out and they grabbed 3,000 signatures and pushed the board to really go look. And you know what they did was they cut the hours back to keep that library open. And thank goodness they did, because it is such a vital thing to the community. So I just want to thank you for all your years of passion, and our team as well, for keeping the focus on how it's such an important, vital asset. So thank you.
And Commissioner Oakley, I want to touch on something that you said, because I've been out speaking about the GO bonds, and as I hope all of you have, I'm sure you have. And, I've heard back from some of the constituents, and Commissioner Wells was there, that, we hear some say, oh, no one's reading books anymore, or all they do is, do the books. And it's such a misunderstanding of what goes on at a library. And I almost wonder if we shouldn't consider changing the name to cultural centers or something else, because saying it's a library, to most people, they don't understand and get what the opportunities are at these centers. So something for us to think about. And I'd love for you guys to talk about it amongst yourselves if we need to modernize that name.
Mr. Chairman?
I think that would be something to let
I've actually had
library staff
Yeah.
and their team have
Yeah,
that
I'd like them to
discussion.
talk about
I've
that.
actually had people tell me
I think libraries still should be
about
in the name of
meetings,
this.
how many meetings go on in libraries, and I was telling them about how many, they just don't realize how many meetings go on. It's just amazing amount of meetings, and the person spoke to me and says, oh, they go there for meetings because it's free. I said, I got news for you. Every citizen in this county pays for that library. So it's not free. We paid for that privilege, and it's being used by our citizens. It's very much so used.
Hey, Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Paul.
Before we're going to just make one quick comment, too. I forgot to talk tonight, and I had it written down. That music studio is very impressive. I think there's a lot of young people going to get to use that and benefit from it, and I do want to put a plug in. They used to have the Battle of the Bands years ago, and we've been talking about it with several members of the group already, but I really think we should do that Battle of Bands out at SunWest Park, make it a beach concert all weekend long. I think you guys will raise a ton of money and even create that awareness you want. So, thank you.
Just for a moment, if you don't mind, I know you're fortunate to have Roz as your president. Roz, when she worked in our office, arranged for the Friends of the Library to put books in for the jurors, and it's very popular, and we do appreciate that. She also arranged for a lot of documents to be, from your libraries, to be in our Legal Resource Center, and a lot of our information to be in the libraries, and we do appreciate that relationship very much. Thank you for all that you do.
So I just looked up the term library. A building or room containing collections of books, periodicals, and sometimes film and recorded music for people to read, borrow, or refer to. And I will tell you that our libraries do much more than that. So I really do think we should think of a more encompassing name that has a building that has a library in it.
Poor people have been standing there for like 30 minutes.
I would just like to add that I hope all of the commissioners have their library cards.
Bring us some. I don't have one.
We're going to turn around.
I have one. Yeah, I did see it. Right there.
I did too. Maybe we should. Let's back up. Let's come back here. Put it in your Apple.
It saves you about 15, 20 seconds, but it's very convenient. Right there.
There's several here, so.
Okay, I'm going to stand up like so we have to load your credit card.
And everything. I was testing it.
Oh, too white?
You took a 46,
We won.
That's okay. R3.
Ralph Lair, Intergovernmental Affairs. So today I bring you the final outcome of the priority list of our legislative agenda. This hasn't gone to print yet. It'll go on a glossy paper like we did last year. But this gives you one more bite at the apple. If there's anything you have with it before we move forward and before I release
What
it.
number are we on? Sorry.
R3.
R3.
It's still a moving target. We can add one or two, or.
Yeah, and I always can,
We just want to add ones that we can get approved.
You may need to delete if you want to.
Yeah, we might have to take some things out.
Oh, we can't add longer paper and fold more.
Well, you got to understand what we got here right now is probably, a big portion of the state budget, so.
Well, that's okay.
I got to bring up something. As much as I'm in favor of this Marine Parkway crossing, I don't know what stats we have behind it to say that that's ready or the right place. So, and I know the city has done the Marine, has a sidewalk that goes from 19 to Gulf Boulevard, but after that, there is no more. And so I'm concerned that if someone looks real deep into this, we don't have the meat behind it. I think one day it will be, but is it ready to be the first thing we're listing on our priority?
So I just got an email and an update on this. So the MPO made this a top priority and moved it up on their list, our county MPO list. Currently, the city of New Richey has money toward it, and George Romagnoli said they would move forward and have a design ready, but they do not have design developed as of yet. So I guess with this additional funds, they're going to continue to move forward, even if they don't get these funds, but that's the ultimate goal. If you will remember, the legislature funded this for the city of New Richey previously.
Well, they funded a portion of it.
Correct.
But because the city doesn't have, I haven't seen it yet, and I do have a meeting coming up next week with the city manager and some of their council people where we're talking about trails, but I have not seen a trail plan from the city, and I wonder if anyone here has. And just to put this number one, I just have to say, I think it's premature.
Higher MPO department, and that's, I'll just, lay that out. They gave, when I reached out to the departments gave us feedback.
Did we put this at number one? Do you guys remember?
It wasn't number one, but it was, it was brought up higher on the list. If you want us to restructure it and put a little lower on there, that's fine. This is no particular order that it was put in the list. No particular order whatsoever.
None of these are in order.
That is correct.
Are we seeking funding for the whole thing or for part of it?
As I'm being told, for the whole thing.
And so what is the whole price? How much are we asking for?
Our
$4 million?
ask would be $4 million, but I'm sure there's money from the county. Like I said, New Richey has money into it. They don't know how much they're putting in toward it. And then I do not know if the MPO has additional dollars that they would put toward that as well.
So Ralph, we have a lot of things we want to get funded here. I have a commitment from Senator Simpson already for the Starkey Trail overpass.
Okay.
And as you know, the Coast to Coast Trail goes through a lot of his district, and he's concerned about safety on the coast to coast. I don't know. I'm
It's
concerned.
up to you. I mean, it can be removed. It could stay on our state legislative agenda, but I could take it out of the smaller priority list.
Or I mean, should we ask for the whole funding? Should we ask for $4 million of funding?
We have a price tag for that, yeah. I don't think we have a price tag for that.
So the cities have their priority list too. Is this on their priority list?
That I do not know.
Well, if it needs to be on the priority list,
I will make sure that they.
We
they get
can't,
that.
we're
I
not
will
gonna, we
circle
can't,
back with George
we're not gonna take,
Ronzioli.
yeah, we can't just take this for them. They need to have it on theirs
We
too.
both have to agree for,
Yeah.
And I agree with you.
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman?
The discussion at the MPO was that the
Commissioner
two
Marion.
cities plus the county would put it on the priority list.
Okay, so, but we're asking for the entire amount.
Well,
The
yeah.
county is.
And I'm
Yeah, we'll have to
still
take
And
on.
why aren't the cities asking for a portion of them? Because they have legislative priorities each time too, i.e. Dade City was able to get some funding for their
You are
flooding
correct.
issues,
Yeah, usually
right?
they have asked to the legislators as well.
So it needs to be on theirs, and they need to take a portion of this.
Okay.
Right.
If we were to prioritize on here, which ones were the most important, for me, I think the underwater, or the sidewalk going under the bridge and to revitalize that Miller's Bayou area is a much bigger economic development project that I would like to push than that overpass. I just think that overpass maybe needs to wait another year or two, but I would certainly say the Miller Bayou working waterfront enhancements, while not in the county, it's in the city of Port Richey, and I think it's in Port Richey, has a great economic benefit along the 19 corridor.
And as Ralph said, we can reorder these on the trifold.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Marion.
Yeah, I mean, we've had conversations with the cities. We're trying to build relationships and work with the cities. I will tell you, I know it's a high priority for both of them. They committed even at the meeting that they were going to push it to make sure it was. The conversations I had, it is a top priority for both cities. I will
On
tell
that,
you.
just so you know, that was brought up in your workshop you had with the
Oh,
cities.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it's not something that's new. And what it was funded before is a great chance to get it again. And now that we're working together on it, I think it even just levels more credence as far as to getting it through.
So is it on their list?
It's got to be the top.
We got to make sure it's on theirs.
They said it was
That
going to be.
should be on their tops.
I haven't
Or
seen
the other
those, but they
thing.
said it was going to be.
Or underpass, yeah.
Top rate. And then the same thing with the Port Richey, that underpass is huge. I will tell you, Representative Mariano wants to see both these projects and is willing to fight for them as well. I know, again, I can't say with who's going to be elected in the position for the Senate side, but I'm sure they're going to want to see these things done as well.
What is it connecting to? What is this overpass connecting to?
I believe it goes across to Gulf Harbors, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
No, it's at Marine Parkway,
Partway, it just goes over to get them over so they don't have to cross via 19.
connecting to what? On the west side of 19? Because I live there.
Yeah, on
What
the
does
west
it
side of
connect
19,
to?
yeah.
I'm not saying that one day this won't be a viable thing to do, but I don't, until we have something on the other side, there's not a trail, I don't
And
know.
I'm fine with y'all taking it off. Yeah, it's no problem to do that.
It's your priority list.
I think the public safety issues were the most important. Going back to our workshop and going back to our MPO meetings, the big concern is obviously people crossing 19, which is virtually impossible unless you go, well, even at some of the major intersections.
There's a light at Florimar 19.
I'm just going by what this is the conversations that were had during the workshops that I remember, it was public safety, getting across 19 safely. I think the trail portion was small compared to the public safety consideration, if I'm not correct.
That was the
Mary, do
discussion, I
long-range
think.
planning.
Wait, everybody's talking at once, hold on.
Um,
Hello, hold on, he's talking.
Yeah, that was the discussion at the appeal. It was a public safety brought up by the Newport Richey representative. And I think the challenge was that we didn't actually have the actual data on the accidents and where they were with respect to where this bridge is going. And I think that's what the commissioners pointed out.
And I will tell you, if you think people are going to walk all the way up 19 to go over the pedestrian bridge rather than cross where they've been crossing, the people, well, you know, it's a delicate subject to say why people are getting hit on 19, but I can tell you drugs are involved. And if you think they're going to come over and walk up there to go over that bridge, I don't see that happening, but maybe you guys.
I'm just going by this is what was brought up in the MPO meetings.
I know it was brought up, but.
That's what their main concern was. I think the trail portion was very small, connected to a trail is public safety. So
Okay, y'all wait a minute.
I got my other priorities on here too, so we can talk about that.
Go ahead.
It is part of the regional trail system, and that's what, it's like the #1 regional
It
trail
connects on both
system.
sides.
Yeah.
There's a trail on the other side? No.
It's supposed to ultimately connect up to Green
Ultimately,
Key.
right.
Yeah, so it is
Ultimately.
planned.
Right. But normally, when you build a trail, and I've been involved in trails in the state for almost 20 years, you don't build the overpass before you build the trail.
Right.
This is very unusual to build an overpass before you build a trail. And I am very much in support of trails, and that's what my meeting is next week. We're hoping to get that trail through the Trouble Creek, down Trouble Creek, but we're nowhere near having approval for that, so we're building an overpass that's connecting to nothing.
So let's go ahead and remove it.
Well, I don't think there's support to remove it, so.
Wait,
but
We can take it off
we'll
this
see.
one if it's going to be a problem.
How long will it be before the trail is built? Is there a time element on that trail?
Is there a time limit on the trail yet?
All I know is it's the #1 regional trail for Pasco.
No, that's not true. That is not true. I'm sorry, I don't know where you're getting that from.
So no, we don't have that.
Mr. Chairman, I strongly advise we do not take this off. This has already been funded by the state once. They're going to want to fund it again.
It was funded for
Especially-
$650,000.
And now that you've got matching money from the city and the county coming together, we've made it the #2 on the list. This is the most dangerous highway in the nation right here. We got people dying, maybe from drugs crossing.
But those are down in Holiday,
But I'm
not
going to tell you,
here.
there's a lot of children that live around that area too. And if you're going to go cross over, if I'm going to go back and forth, I'm going to want to have that bridge over. And if it's so hard to get a bridge later on, like we find with others, if we get the chance to make this investment, this will help drive the trail, get the funding later on.
So what data are you using to say that the most dangerous crossing is in this area on US 19? I would ask you, what data are you using?
I'm not using any data for that. I'm
Right.
just telling you, you are talking about the most dangerous highway in the nation. You've had local editors write about it, print it, and it's got a lot of attention. And it's something that it is the most dangerous. Even the State Engineers Association recognizes it.
We're soon to have that meeting with the city
Next week.
next week.
Well,
Me.
I think she's having something separate.
I'm
Either-
meeting with Commissioner Altman and the city commissioner on the trails in that area next week.
Yeah, we won't have a joint
That's
meeting
something
until
different from what I'm
next
talking
calendar year.
It will be part of this trail system.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can I make a suggestion before we make any decisions to pull anything? We go through the list, and then we talk about each one, and then if we need to reprioritize, we can do after we go through the list. Is that okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
So moving down the list, we have Starkey Trail, and I know Commissioner Starkey, you've already spoken with Senator Simpson regarding that. The next one is for the final segment of 52, Bellamy to 41. However, with this project, it's already in the DOT work plan. It's planned further out. This was more to see if our legislative delegation could work with DOT to move that up to go along with the current construction going on with 52. So again, even though there's a $73.9 million, the money is already in the work plan for DOT, but it's either 2022 or 2024 that they have it planned to start addressing.
The 4-lane.
The 4 lanes.
So that one, again, just keep that in mind. It's just more to see if we can get it moved up on the list.
So, Mr. Chairman, so is that very similar to kind of what we did with like Diverging Diamond, even though we wanted to make sure it got funded, so we
That's
left it on
correct.
the list?
I'd put it similar to that type of a scenario,
Okay.
yes.
Great, thanks.
Okay.
Our Gateway Beautification Plan for 19, $3.4 million. It was previously on our priority list. Miller's Bayou Working Waterfront Enhancement, $3 million. That was not on our, that was on our previous list. And then the Land Lakes redevelopment plan, it has been reworded and restructured from planning, but I think the essence of what you're looking for is still there.
I appreciate it.
Our homeless service center and temporary housing, because you've all restructured the homeless shelter and the scope of what they will cover, we are asking for funding for that. And then our water projects based on priority, Hidden Lakes came in number 1. And these are all projects that are also being funded under Schwarzmund's cooperative funding initiative. So these are ready to go. And then again, as you know, funds that we would get from the state, we could then move to the next on your list on stormwater projects. That's how the department has normally been doing it. So that's the projects. If you want me to move them around a little bit, and especially under the planning and development section, we're happy to do that, easy to do that.
Well, you know, the legislature's not going to fund everything, and Commissioner Mariano, I'm hearing you say that the trail overpass is more important than the Miller's Bayou working waterfront enhancement.
You didn't hear that.
I thought you said it was number 1.
They're both very important.
But if
On
we're
the
not
list.
going to get 7 million for both of those, do you think?
You never know. If you don't ask, you're not going to get anything. I say we ask for both of them because they're both very, very important projects. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I think we need to take a look at adding that overpass business park. Maybe we should put some in economic development, but throw it in there?
We're working
A little too early? Okay.
No, we're working on that.
Yeah, there's a couple different things working.
Different manner?
Yeah, there are things in play on that
Well,
one.
just kind of like
Yeah,
as we talk.
but thank you,
All right.
thank you.
Positive things, yeah. My suggestion, the last one, I would put the State Road 52 on the planning and development. Again, we're not asking for funding on that one, we're trying to get it moved up in this scenario. And then you've got your Circuit Trail, could be number 1, Gateway Beautification number 2. And then you can decide Miller's Bayou, Land Lakes redevelopment, and then finally the US 19 pedestrian, how you want me to place those on this brochure.
Well, you know how I feel. I think that we're connecting, you know, I wish my name was out of it, so it didn't look like I was.
If it would help you, I would say go with the ones you had on there last year, which would be, again, Starkey is new, but it is a high priority with MPO as well. I would go with Starkey, Gateway, Miller's Bayou, Land Lakes redevelopment, and then US 19 Marine, and then it would be State Road 52.
I'm good with that.
I don't know what.
And you don't want your project on here? It's being worked on a different way?
Oh,
The
yeah,
road?
we're okay with that, how we're working on that.
Okay.
We'll keep forging ahead.
Again,
But thank you.
And again, just by switching them around does not mean I'm going to work on all of them as much as I can, and I think you all will be working on them as you've already started to do,
Why
so.
don't you place them on there like you just read, and then
Are we comfortable with that?
So everything's staying.
Well,
we're just-
everything stays.
I'm not taking anything out.
We're all good?
Just going to reorder them,
Just reorder them, that's.
that's what I'm hearing.
yeah.
I think, again, Commissioner Mariano, you mentioned too, you were working with the city, so just making sure that, if you could, that they put it on there.
I have no doubt they
On their
will,
priority
but I don't have
list.
the affirmation
Yeah.
to tell you it's 100% done, but
That
I'm sure it
helps.
will be.
It'd be good to reach out to them and get back with Ralph on that.
I will
Be sure.
verify it this afternoon.
Okay.
Anything else?
Because this is going to full print.
I'll go to full print, I'll restructure, and I can go to
When?
full
I mean,
print next
when?
week. We're doing it in-house, so it
Yeah,
can go next
right.
week.
So Commissioner Mariano will get with you and
But we
we'll
do
make
wanna
sure
start
that they're
getting
all on
this-
the same page.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
we'll
That way we won't take
circle,
anything off.
we'll circle back with the cities,
we'll
make
circle
sure it's on their list. We just want to make sure that they're ready to start being distributed right after the election.
Right.
That's kind of the goal, and
Sure.
you don't
Gotta
have
do
another
start doing
meeting
our
until after
meetings.
Thanksgiving, so.
And you wanted to start having these, so you can, when you meet with the
Right.
legislators as well, you have copies of them.
Because we want to, yeah. we'll
And
get to
again,
this
I'm
quickly.
not against that trail on 19 overpass. I just don't think the time is right now to ask for something. I think that plan is not far enough along.
Okay, I need a motion for Ralph to go forward.
Move to approve.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye. Okay,
Aye.
R4.
Good morning, Commissioners. Don Rosenthal, Assistant County Administrator, Development Services. This is my quarterly update. Based on the trending models, we've had a fairly consistent rise in single-family starts since 2012. From 2012 to 2015, the values rose at a rate of about $100 million a year. In 2017, though, we noticed an increase of approximately $220 million. We're projecting an increase back to around $100 million for the years between 2017 and 18. Commissioners, if trends continue, we'll hit $1 billion by the year 2019 in valuation. Our commercial starts from the same time period. Our commercial new starts, while inconsistent in the past, are becoming more and more consistent over time. From 2012 until 2014, commercial valuation went from $50 million to $175 million, dropping in 2015 and climbing back up to about $175 million in 2016. In 2017, commercial valuation jumped to approximately $275 million. We estimate the commercial valuation will top out at approximately $350 million for 2018 and be about the same rate for 2019. Single-family residential starts from 2012 to 2018. Basically, Commissioners, we've tripled the number of housing starts from the year 2012. Our service levels all projected to increase just to meet that added demand. Commercial new starts for the month by month for 2012 to 2018. We have about 4 times as many commercial starts as we were having in 2012. That's a considerable growth. We anticipate that those business needs will continue. We anticipate that additional growth to continue too in the near future. In the past, we received many questions concerning what type of construction is going on at this or that location. So in August, my team came up with a real-time interactive tool for citizens to explore what's coming to their community. The tool allows you to view projects on a real-time map, search upcoming events and meetings, send a project inquiry, download project forms and application, search projects by district, browse project archives, view plans and renderings, and view the long-range portfolio. You can view this on our My Pasco app, website, and on social media. Central permitting using the chromatic system. Wait times can be viewed on our My Pasco app from your phone anywhere. We have the shortest waiting time in the mornings and our highest waiting times between 1 and 2 p.m. in the afternoon. 16 minutes is our average waiting time. We had a high of 388 customers, the highest number served in a single day. Currently, we serve 80% of our customers within 25 minutes. We researched and compared with neighboring counties, and we found the following. Hillsborough County has an average wait time of 25 minutes. City of Tampa, 30 minutes. And what we're doing to improve our wait time, we're currently implementing additional training in central permitting. We feel that we can cut our wait time significantly. Our goal is to have 90% of our customers served within 25 minutes. Highlights from code enforcement. Code enforcement issues permits within 4 days of applications. Code enforcement responds within 7 days to all complaints 55% of the time. Code enforcement gets voluntary compliance 87% of the time. Code enforcement proactively helps people to understand the requirements instead of just citing them for missing those requirements. The sweep team, made up of code enforcement and sheriff's officers, has completed 59 area sweeps during this quarter. Our mantra of people, purpose, performance is supported by employees. I would like to turn your attention to a short video that we have of our employees following that mantra. So turning things around and being customer centered is extremely important.
Happy Building Safety Month.
Happy Building Safety Month.
And Happy Building Safety Month.
What's that Navy start?
I would say the impact on the community that I get to witness every day.
I was always taught that, we're purveyors of health.
We're trying to fix the neighborhood, and hopefully there's a domino effect. One person cleans up their neighborhood, the next house, and so on.
To say that, okay, what we're doing is working. And the people really seem to embrace us, the homeowners, the contractors, always shake my hand and always say, thank God you guys are here.
I just love what I do. I love interacting with people. I love taking those negatives and turning them into positives.
Thank you. I'd like to entertain any questions you might have.
Great job.
Great job. Yeah. Commissioner Maryland?
John, I just want to say, I think you guys are doing a great job. Continually, I'm sure we all make calls to you whenever we need something, but the response that we get from Esther, Micah, Anthony is tremendous. Even yesterday, there was a guy who was waiting for a little bit, but you guys were right on it, and you actually studied the situation. You're working on improvements to keep a good flow going. So as busy as it is, and I think it's going to stay steady. I think you're doing a phenomenal job, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
This is a reference to the next item, so I don't know if there's any more questions of this. If not, I had a question.
Well, I'd just like to say I appreciate everything you and your team's done. You've come a long way in just 2 years I've been here. It's become a place where people want to do business rather than one that want to stay away from. So it's for you and your people to be commended on all that they do. So I appreciate it.
So I met with all the staff yesterday. We have, is it quarterly or every other month meetings just to follow up on stuff in my district? And are we still at 84% of the code enforcement calls in the county are in District 3? In
Yes, Commissioner, we are.
certain area of District 3?
Yes.
So just to share with you the challenges that we continue to have. So are we at full staff with our code enforcement officers, or do we still have some more hires to do?
We are at full staff.
Okay, because I thought Micah yesterday said we had 20, and we were hoping for 24.
But those are all our approved positions. We can talk some more during the budget session, but we have all the people for our approved slots right now.
So we don't have 4 vacancies?
No, we don't have, he said that he had he was mentioning that years ago he had a total of 24 code enforcement officers. He was mentioning that he had 24 now.
I thought he said he had 20 now.
He had 20 now. In the past, it was 24.
So how did we lose 4?
That was done over years. I don't know if it's my.
I thought we've been adding, not losing.
You've added 4 over the last 3 years.
Yeah, so let me understand what's going on
We
with
added
that
4,
one.
but before I got here, the recession hit, and they had to let, I think, 7 officers go.
Right.
So that's why it went down dramatically.
Okay, but yesterday and just now, we said you have approval for 24 and you have 20. So am I hearing that wrong?
You're hearing it wrong. We have 28 people in our department. We have myself, 4 admin, 3 supervisors, 19 officers total.
19.
19 officers, yes, ma'am.
So we've lost some officers?
Oh, we have not lost, and we've gained since I've been here.
Now, we had 19 officers years ago, so where have we added?
Well, as I was explaining, when the recession hit, it took those positions away on a permanent basis.
But I know that since I've been here, that this board has been adding code enforcement officers every year. So if we had 19 in the recession, surely we have added since the recession, right? We've been giving more and more code enforcement officers to your department.
They did go down even further, but we've built it back up to a total of 28 people department so far.
Okay, well, I know in my district, we could still use even more, so I hope in next year's budget that maybe we can even add some more. And you can see here 55% response time, that's in 7 days for some of the issues that I'm going to bring up in commissioners' items in my district. That can be a problem for some people. So I hope that we can add more code enforcement officers to help you.
But just as a reminder, that 55%, that's of the 7-day response to 55% of the calls. They are there's a scale that we use.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, they're doing, even with the people they have, they're doing a great job getting out and
Oh, yeah,
and
they
taking
have
care
a
of the
tough job.
issues, and it's just ongoing, so.
And I always
they're
get
taking care of that.
compliments on how your
Thank you. I
staff
enjoy
deals with the
compliments.
public, yeah. So. And I'm going to try and get you some more people.
Commissioner Moore, you have a question?
Well, I
for-
did. I know we went on a little longer than we expected. I was going to try to get tourism up here because they have people from outside the area that were
Bring
supposed
'em
to
up.
present. But I don't know, Adam, if you can, if we put you ahead of the Food Policy Council, I don't know if that can happen or not. Mr. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Think you can fit it in?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for accommodating
Keep
us.
it short, so.
Hi, my name's Adam Thomas. I'm the Tourism Director for Pasco County for the Destination Management Organization. Thank you so much for today. We're really excited to present you our new strategy, where we think we're going to go in the future. But before I do so, I'd like to introduce Wendy Payton from the Zimmerman Agency, who is our Account Director for Pasco County. 13 months ago, I stood before you and discussed how the identity of Pasco as a tourism destination needs to change within the marketplace to rebrand, reposition, to create the highest return on investment. And I am excited that we now have a brand identity before you. It was presented at the TDC board last week, and we heard nothing but praises. So let's get right into it. This brand was built by the community leaders, industry stakeholders over the course of 2 days and 4 workshops that consist of 57 business and stakeholders in our industry. We also really reached out to other city officials, other municipalities, just to get some and gather some insight and feedback to what they think we should go. And what you're going to see here today is the result of that.
Okay, thanks, Adam, and thank you for hosting us, commissioners. Wanted to talk with you a little bit more about the brand momentum that we went through. This is an exercise that we use to explore the brand strategy after hearing from members of the community from all parts of the county. So the first thing that we do is we develop our purpose. And that is, obviously, we want to bring in the money. So we want to increase revenue for the citizens of Pasco County. How is that relevant to our tourism and our travelers? Well, today's leisure activity or traveler is looking for an active experience. This we've learned through studying trends in travel and tourism. They're not only looking for active experience, but transformation. So how does Pasco relate to that? Well, we want to be the brand for people who are passionate about being active. We know that 84% of boomers and 94% of millennials wanted to or established a, excuse me just a minute, a transformational experience, thanks. And so we took a look at the why behind our brand, and that life is meant to be enjoyed. Pasco County encourages our travelers to get out there. And we looked further at the opportunity area. We looked at destinations from across the state of Florida and Georgia, and we found that we have an opportunity to really own the active, authentic brand position. We looked at Visit Orlando, Miami, Tampa. We found that those experiences are manufactured. When we looked at the Space Coast, Sarasota, and other destinations around the Gulf Coast, we found that they're very relaxing. Savannah is our authentic destination with Southern charm, and so we know that we have a more active opportunity here. And who are we trying to reach? Based on the fact that we're looking at owning the active and authentic brand. Our ambition here is to be the Florida destination for active families.
So it all revolves around a theme of of a play. So we want people to get out there and play. So come to Pasco County, come to our destination, and let's play. So with that, pause for a brief moment.
Drum roll.
Drum roll. We present to you the Florida Sports Coast, the tagline and the theme of Let's Play. This revolves around not only the sports enthusiasts that are traveling for sports events and tournaments and amateur sports, but it also focuses on the leisure activities of our destination, the hiking, the biking, the cycling, the inshore, offshore fishing, the boating, all the waterways that are on the west side and all the sports activities on the east side and everything in the middle. This synergizes our destination as one unified destination brand underneath one umbrella.
So let's take a look at our momentum roadmap. The truth of the county is that you're a hidden gem and that you offer a wide variety of active experiences for the adventurous. Our insight here is that consumers today want a variety of transformational experiences. And if you think about active families, we're talking about being able to inspire the kids, the grandparents, as well as the decision makers. The ambition here then is to be Florida's destination for active families. And then we reach our momentum. Florida's Sports Coast. Let's play.
So the brand creative behind how we put all this together, there's research that has been presented in your packet on this strategy, and it's fundamentally sound. The strategy that was built internally is now researched externally to see if it actually we're going in the right directions, and we are. But also from a brand creative, we took the logos, we took how we're going to identify our image, and went out to the consumer marketplace to close to 800 surveyors with 3 logos, and we all came up, or not us internally, externally, they came up with one unified logo. From our long-range concepts, this is really a home run for us, no pun intended.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So with that, we want to wear it proudly. This is the campaign and the creative direction that we're going to go in. No matter where you live around the world, sports bonds people, whether as players, as fans, jerseys and numbers to reflect a dedication and sometimes even an obsession to team sports and their communities. In the Florida Sports Coast, we wear it proudly. That's our brand mantra. That's how we're moving forward in our creative direction. Here it is a little bit on a print advertising campaign.
Awesome.
22 world-class golf courses, 34 meeting and breakout rooms, and like I mentioned before, identifying the sports amateur tournaments that we're bringing in and also the sports leisure, tying all that into a marketing campaign. If you think your athletes fly in the field, wait until they're 13,000 feet above ground. So that's hitting on not only the athletes that we're bringing in, but also the leisure activities. And you can see on the bottom right-hand side of every single one of these print campaigns, there's a little patch that identifies with the consumer that we're trying to identify with. Here it is in a digital format, 24 miles of sports fishing coastline, Florida Sports Coast. Let's play.
As you can see, it also carries through to social media as well.
So we thank you.
Oh, that's great.
We thank you very much, and we open
Yeah,
it
it's really
up to any
good.
questions.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Real quick, so they obviously presented this at the TDC meeting, and obviously everybody was ecstatic about it. Everybody on the TDC board was ecstatic about it. The audience that was here was a huge round of applause. They worked hard, and one of the things I really like about it is what Adam stated before, is that this decision was made out in the community. These were the stakeholders that were involved. These are the business owners. These are people from our chambers. These are people in the Rotaries. These are people from fellow cities and municipalities, along with our team. And again, like I said before, you guys did an amazing job, and it's going to resonate. And one of the things this does is, I know for years before I came on this commission, this commission's been doing an outstanding job at this now, but is unifying the county, making sure everybody's on the same page. And how do you do that with tourism? and they've accomplished it. So we're thrilled on the TDC board about everything that's Adam and his entire team with the Zimmerman Agency has moved forward with. So
Great.
thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Morales?
It wasn't what I expected. You said a few key words that kind of, I'm just going to throw the question out there. I mean, I like it so much better than Nature Coast. I mean, I think there's something here, there's some excitement to it. I was thinking that you might pick up even along with Hernando with the Adventure Coast. You've mentioned adventure, it kind of ties into adventures as well. Just if you would, just tell me how you thought about that, because I'm sure you considered it, and why you went to the sports instead of the adventure.
Well, the Nature Coast is comprised of 9 other counties, and we don't want to be along with the Nature Coast and 9 other counties. So we took a look at, and you're right with Hernando and the Adventure Coast, but we are a little bit more. The sports coast is ownable. No one owns those keywords. If you look and search right now in the marketplace, it was a position for us to actually own that destination and that word and really move our county forward in the sports realm, because everything that we do, just like the Adventure Coast, is all outdoor activity, all soft adventure travel, except for if you're jumping out of 13,000 feet, it's not really soft adventure. But it really brings and unifies, like I mentioned before, one destination, one strategy to go after one consumer market to create the highest yield on not only the investment, but also the marketing dollars that we're investing on a regular basis. And if Wendy wants to elaborate a little bit more.
Sure. I can just add that when we met with those 57 people that rose to the top, they actually mentioned sports from all parts of the county, so we honed in on that.
Right. It's really the lifeblood and the DNA of who we are and an existence in our tourism industry, and that really gives us an identity and gives us a place in Florida's tourism marketplace.
I'll say this, when you just went with the sports itself, and I first read the thing, I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm crazy about just focusing with that, but I like the way, people come in for a certain reason, for a sports thing, they make a vacation out of it. And that you're tying in all the adventure to go with it, I can get behind this.
It even hits on the meeting side, because there is a leisure traveler that they go on they go on the road on business, and then they're actually staying for leisure, so they're called a leisure traveler that stays for or extends their stay for the experience.
All the things, kayaking, boating, this offshore fishing, you think about where we sit right now, all those are sports, I mean, maybe, or recreational activities, but they're all sports at the same time.
Beach
Shopping
volleyball.
can be a sport too.
Beach volleyball, sand soccer.
Entertain a motion. This calls for an approval.
No, move for approval.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good job,
Thank
team.
you.
Great job.
Very good.
Appreciate it.
We have time for
Does he
one
have
more.
another one?
R5. It's just, yes, just a report, right?
Good morning. Jeff Wright, Wright's Natural Market. I'm the chair of the Pasco Food Policy Advisory Council. This is our annual update. So we've been implementing the Urban Agriculture Ordinance. We're the first in Florida to have an urban agricultural ordinance in an urban county. I think that's a really pretty cool thing.
Very
cool. Our first community garden registration is Elfer Senior Center cares, and that groundbreaking is going to be scheduled for April.
Okay.
And we are also proposing some revisions to eliminate garden plan permits for gardens without structures, and that'll probably be coming to you guys down the road. We've been working on backyard chicken ordinance.
Yes.
And we've sent something to the legal department. It's trying to look at the legality of setting up a pilot program. Seminole County did that. We're trying to kind of mimic that pilot program a little bit to see if we can try that and see how that works for us and have a period where we can come back and reevaluate that.
Great.
I wanted to say thank you very much in allowing us to be part of the mobile food vending ordinance, and thank you for passing that. Thank you for appointing our new members. We still think we have one vacancy we're trying to fill.
Which, in which area?
The farmer's market.
Okay.
We had one applicant, but that person rescinded. I'd love to get any feedback that you have or any suggestions or input to make sure we include your priorities in our strategic plan. That's one of the next things we'll be working on in our next meetings, is our strategic plan for the coming year. And I think that's probably the majority of mine, unless you have some questions.
Any questions?
One question from the slide, you kind of skipped over, but it said about a CDC outbreak, salmonella outbreak.
That was just one of the facts that we were looking at and considering with the backyard chickens.
What happened?
I believe those are just reports where it's happened in Pennsylvania, Virginia, New York, and Maryland, and there wasn't a true correlation between the chickens or backyard chickens and the salmonella outbreak.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I had something that was just, oh, yes, I had talked with our Director of Tourism. I know he's left now, but I'm very interested, and I think he's just starting to begin to develop an agritourism brochure. And I know he's going to be getting with you guys to work on developing that kind of strategy in that brochure, so.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I've personally had a meeting with one of the staff at the PEDC about creating distribution channels. We're moving our store into a food desert, and I realize this is a little bit of a side, but what we're looking at doing is trying to help create a distribution channel for some of the urban farmers to be able to get their product to the market, because they don't have time to meet with every chef and retailer, and the retailers and chefs don't have time to meet with every farmer. So we're looking at trying to create a distribution channel and help that along.
So one of the initiatives of the Food Policy Council was to, I don't know if it was sponsor or to allow mobile food trucks to go around the county to food deserts with fresh produce. Have we gotten anywhere with enacting that program?
I believe that is part of the mobile food ordinance.
Well, I know we're allowed to do it, but have we done it?
I don't think it's been done yet. There's a couple of nonprofits that were working with us during this process and giving us input that are looking at doing that, but I don't think they've actually taken that step and either have the extra truck or have it scheduled yet.
I think that'd be really good, because there are places where people can't access fresh food.
Okay.
So, I'd like to see that.
Thank you for your report.
Thank you very much.
Sir. This time I'll adjourn the meeting till 1:30.
Wasn't there another sports one on there?